You're ready before you think you are. Due diligence is important, right? But the having a conversation with someone like me, financial planner, or taking the leap for entrepreneurship, you're often more ready than you think you are. But I cannot emphasize enough the value of a good plan in advance and getting clarity ahead of time to provide that level of confidence. But the biggest challenge is wanting to be in two places at once all the time. I love my work and I love my children. And so, how do you do that? I am very intentional again about how I structure my calendar, and I give 100%, and I'm committed to the work when I'm at work. I also need to then protect when I'm with my family. I'm 100% committed to them, and they understand.
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey, the podcast where we share valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of this journey. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Good day and welcome to our podcast, Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. Today's guest is Christine Limuti. She is a finance professional and entrepreneur with over 15 years of combined experience in entrepreneurship, cash flow management, business strategy and operations, and financial forecasting. Her work is centered on serving individuals, families, and business owners, helping them elevate financial health, build multi-generational wealth, and focus on asset preservation, stewardship, and meaningful, sustainable investing. She is also a wife and mother of 4, with children ranging in age from 3 to 13, and her family values are rooted in faith, family, and stewardship. Beyond her professional work, she is a marathon runner, a barre and Pilates instructor, and a mental health advocate. She enjoys a good read, a true crime podcast, and spending time over food and drinks with her tribe. She believes in seeking good or creating it, and also in flexing our limitless capabilities. Thank you, Christine. How are you doing?
I'm doing so well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and thanks for joining us. And we met through a networking group. And I like to mention that just because I feel like networking is just so very important. And I'm glad that we were able to meet.
Yes, I'm in agreement. Sometimes it's a lot of intentionality about finding the right networking group and just fostering those authentic, continued discussions.
Yes, for sure. So let's get started. We always like to ask our guests 2 words, one that describe themselves now and one that they would use to describe themselves as a child.
Oh, one word. That's a great question. I'll start with recently did my goal setting vision statement for this year. And my word of this year was intentionality. Intentionality around time. Time is the one equalizing resource that we have. And I'm a huge proponent and advocate for spending your time in alignment with what your value systems are. And so this is the year that I'm doing an audit on my actions and ensuring that my time is well spent. Value systems for me are going to be my family, my faith, my work, community. And so ensuring that how I spend my time is in alignment with that. And sometimes it's tough to hold yourself accountable to that. Going back to the childhood, goodness, I think that any childhood has its challenges, but it certainly fostered a sense of family and closeness with my siblings and my family, which I'm forever grateful for. And we have carried into our adult years as now we raise our own children and cousins.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And what's one childhood memory you'd say that really brings a smile to your face?
Mm, I think one is Friday evenings were often spent playing board games and just a lot of fun around movies and things with my siblings. I have three younger brothers, and we certainly grew up very close. And so I loved that. As I aged, I do remember this was a teaching moment. I am very fortunate to have been raised by a very strong, wise mother. And I remember in my youth feeling a sense of missing out. And it was a remarkable conversation that, again, as we think about raising our next generation of children, is like, how do we do this a little differently and a little bit better? But she taught me that oftentimes, if you feel like you're not being a part of the conversations or the rooms that you want to be, find ways to, like, what would it mean to say yes instead of leading with the concern or the fear or the angst? And so I've carried that life lesson with me throughout, leaning into what would it look like if we said yes? And then let's back into that from there, and ultimately being able to be very intentional and thoughtful about the rooms that we put ourselves in and the influences we surround ourselves with.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And going into the business a little bit, what's one of the highest highs or one of the best moments you'd say that you've had in business so far?
Yeah, so many. I will say my work in holistic planning, I would be remiss not to acknowledge the trust and faith that individuals and families and business owners, they place in myself and our team. We've been very intentional about the team that we built. The greatest memory is truly, and I can't speak to specifics because I want to protect privacy, but certainly it's when I get to meet individuals in a way that I meet their family, as I meet their children, I get to see them in their homes. I just find such value, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to meet people in a very intimate way. And I don't take it for granted. And I've had a few recent moments where I've gotten to meet people in their homes and meeting their children, and, in a way that it goes so far beyond just private wealth advisory. It's, again, aligning capital in alignment with value systems.
Great. And if you could think of one not so good moment, if we're just looking at the opposite of that, maybe one of the challenges.
Certainly, I think that I work a dream profession. I love my work. I also find that I feel so enriched. I recently read an article all around the psychology and human behavior around how we audit our actions and spend our time. And I'm very specific. My calendar is very parceled out. So, like, I have my reading time and my deep thinking time. I have my exercise. I'm up early. I have work. And so the biggest challenge for me truly is turning it off, because I actually really enjoy my work and I love my family. And there's nothing more important to me than my family. And so could I see myself if we have cats, about the cat lady that lived independently, I would be working all the time because I truly do love my work. And it probably is not right healthy in that side either. But the biggest challenge is wanting to be in two places at once all the time. I love my work and I love my children. And so how do you do that? I am very intentional, again, about how I structure my calendar, and I give 100%, and I'm committed to the work when I'm at work. I also need to then protect when I'm with my family. I'm 100% committed to them, and they understand.
Thanks for sharing that. And even personally for me, it's one of my greatest challenge because I'm relatively new in business. So figuring out how to balance has really been a challenge. I like how you shared that being intentional with your calendar. And it sounds like everything that needs to be done is on that calendar. So you make time for everything. And you also mentioned that you focus on that when you're doing it. And then that means whether it's a family or work, it gets the time that it deserves. So I'm happy to hear that. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
All right. And is there one book or movie that you would recommend?
Right now, I've read this book before, but I'm actually rereading it. Is the Red Brown, the Dare to Lead book. I actually think I have it on my desk. I am doing some depth of work when it comes to just leading teams and building building a team that rides for you and with you. And so I'm revisiting that book. So it's probably going to be the one that is just top of mind for right now. I'm a big proponent for reading. I don't do enough of it. And I need to allocate more time. But again, it's like, the one equalizing resource we all have is 24 hours. And so how do you block that to where you're optimized, but also not where you're kind of making yourself nutty by being so rigid and inflexible? My kids have taught me that, a level of flexibility.
Yes, they do teach us a lot, especially about around
They will do
flexibility.
that.
So,
Yeah. Excuse me.
yeah. So in terms of the business, now would be a good time to tell us the name of your business and what you do in business.
Sure. So I'm a private wealth advisor for the Atrium Financial Group. We are based in New York, multiple offices and cities, and we service families and individuals and businesses around the country, and we service people around the globe. We do holistic financial planning. So there's a component that's private wealth advisory, and also the planning work, the tax intelligence work, the estate and wealth stewardship work. It is a very holistic viewpoint in how we support and service the clients and the families that we do.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about your journey into entrepreneurship? How did that start for you?
So I grew up in a household where we didn't talk finances a lot. And so that had to be self-taught. I was independent the moment that I kind of flew the coop, went to college. And so a lot of bumps along the way, a lot of self-teaching along the way. I enjoy learning. Continued ed is something that's incredibly important to me. And while going through a program, and I come from an academic and entrepreneurial background. So I started my career thinking I was going to go tenure track faculty, and life comes at us fast. And so in the midst of my program, my youngest brother was diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic. I'm a partial caretaker. And so roots really needed to be home. This idea of tenure track faculty and relocation there was a pin in it for now. And so in the meantime, my husband and I started building our businesses. So in hospitality, in fitness and franchising, and on exit of a 3-unit franchise, I was planning to take a beat. It was a profitable exit. We had done it fairly well and positioned it. And I had a female inside of my network tap me on the shoulder and basically, I know we're not looking to hire, but I want you to meet my team. And so I got the opportunity to meet the partners and the team at Atrium, and I've never looked back. That's where I'll age out, I intend. And it's because of the way that we do planning and the level of integrity and continued ed. Our missions are very clear, and the level of work that we do is pretty strong and intensive, which is exactly, I'm a glutton for punishment. I remember interviewing and saying, if I could get a job that just pays me to learn, I mean, and make impact. That's what I've discovered, and that's what we do.
Okay, thanks so much for sharing that. And you mentioned, I've been hearing about team, not just in what you're doing now, but even before, when it sounds like you had other businesses. And so can you tell us a little bit more about building a team in your experience and how important that is?
So important. And I will tell you, it's developed for me over time. It's such an interesting conversation. I'm sure that we can all share like a leader that's been really like a mentor that really was helping and driving conviction, confidence, growth, whatever you are looking to accomplish. And also leaders that have a strong desire to lead, but maybe don't execute as strong. And so I look back at my leadership style across the decades that I've been doing either work in academia or in finance. I have certainly improved, which is good, right? I look back and I think that a couple of things that have stuck with me that I'm really refining and pouring into currently. One, honesty is kindness, right? Individuals want to lean in to a leader that they know is honest, operates with integrity, and it's challenged with a level of respect, professionalism, and kindness, right? So to move us all forward in the right direction. I think the other thing that's really important to me, and I've been fortunate to my direct mentor in this work, I remember had a very poignant conversation with me. I know what you're capable of. I want you to tell me what you want to reach for. I will help you build that. We'll back end engineer into that. I'll tell you what it's going to take to get there. is that what you want? Right? I will push you, elevate you, support you, provide resources for you to the level that you desire. But I need you to tell me what that is. And so it was a really poignant time because it was lining up with someone who sees more in me than I even see in myself, but also pushes me beyond what I even think I'm capable of. Right? Like I come from I was an athlete in college. And so I always have desired, like, how far can I push? What is the physical nature of how far I can push? I'm a marathon runner now as an adult. Like, how far can I physically go? I do that in my work too, but sometimes you need someone who can see above the weeds for you. I do that for my clients every single day. So as a leader, my work in this year is really just to pour in, and really there's an art and science to leading teams. I want to really build a team, simply put, right? Build a practice, build a team where we ride for one another. They ride for me, they ride with me, they run hard, they run fast with clear focus and alignment in our firm's mission. Pursuit of excellence, continued education, family first firm, do the right thing. I mean, all the things that you would presume, but we're very clear in our mission and we live it every single day.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I heard elevate in there. And I'm thinking about business owners right now who probably not where they would like to be. But having somebody, like you mentioned earlier, sometimes there are people who see beyond for you. So can you just tell me a little bit about how you serve business owners? Basically, if there's a business owner right now who has that goal of investment in just building wealth, but they're not quite there yet. They're probably starting. What would be one of the financial habits or decisions you would say that they should focus on right now to help them get to where they're trying to get to?
Building and curating a trusted advisory team. So you got your teams that help you do your day to day. That's the in the weeds stuff. I think for business owners that desire to elevate and grow, you need to find time, dedicated time, or assign individuals that get you above the weeds. Like there's below the line tactics and then there's above the line strategy. You need both. But it's really difficult for a business owner to be in both fields at the same time. And it's just business owners are doing all things all at once, right? So dedicated team is tax, right? That's your sphere. Bookkeeping, financials, right? Financial planning, advisory, really important, duplication of benefits. I also think legal, depending upon your industry, right? What type and to the extent to which you need legal is really going to be dependent upon what ecosystem and sector you're involved in. But you need a trusted team. I think it's so interesting. I work with a lot of business owners who pour in 100% into their business, and yet they don't pour in 100% into their personal financial well-being. And there's misalignment. But I also, again, would be remiss not to acknowledge as a business owner, you're just pouring everything you got into building and growing and scaling and maintaining momentum. That's why you hire teams. It takes capital to build. I think that oftentimes business owners are far more ready than when they think, right? Risk seeking typically, but can be conservative in other capacities, which is really interesting. This is just the human psyche. Another conversation for another day on that. But I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to have trusted partners, ensuring that you are operating objectively, impartially, and in your own best interest.
Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Yes, for sure. Just thinking on that a little bit. And if there is somebody who's listening to you and you're thinking, maybe I should do this now, or maybe I've thought about it, but I haven't quite done what I need to do, what would you say that the next step should be at this point? If they were to work with you or just somebody in the same field?
Yeah, I think reach out, book an introductory conversation. Part of the work, part of why I believe I've been fortunate to experience success when I aligned with a really strong team and helping building a really strong team. I think that I'm good at what I do. And in order for me to deliver at the cadence and at the level that I do, I have a strong team. And so you need to hire, people that are arguably better than you are, I think, oftentimes, right? So, and hire probably sooner than you think you should. I mean, it just, how do you scale on, again, industry specific, but I think that you need a good team. The other thing that I think is really powerful is that it's a lot of just noise between your own ears. An introductory conversation costs you your time. Now, your time is immensely valuable, but my job and why I think I've been successful is that academic part of me is I'm just a really good researcher. My job is to extract data, quantitative, all the numbers and cents and statements and tax documents and estate documents and all these things, right? But the qualitative data of what makes you you, what are your value systems, what are your goals personally, professionally, financially. There are a lot of strategies that we deploy, but it's really important to understand every decision that we make going forward has to help track you toward what you're looking to build. And that's, again, personal, professional, financial across different time horizons. Kind of you get what you pay for. I'm sure as a tax professional, you tell people that all the time, right? So, oftentimes it's a lot of just noise in between your own ear. I'm a huge proponent for everyone deserves good, decent planning. Find a good partner. Find the right fit and just book the introductory call and see if it works. A good professional will tell you if you're, there are conversations that I have sometimes that'll be introductory, find a men's join and say, okay, here are some things that you could probably do in the meantime, get to work, and then let's revisit this back in another year or two. And then there's times that it's just a formalized engagement. We just get to work tactically. But my job in operating integrity is to make sure, again, if you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, right, you should trust that professional will tell you truthfully, okay, for what I would charge for my level of work, I don't find it justifiable. Let's, why don't you go take this and get to work and do these things, and then let's get back together, right? And that's when we can be helpful.
And I love that you mentioned that, because even though somebody reaches out to you now and they're not quite at the point where you two can work together, it sounds like just that conversation can still provide some kind of clarity.
I'm very confident that we leave people better off than when they came, for sure.
Okay. And I know you can't get into specifics. When somebody comes to you, when they get to the other side after having worked with you, what are some of the changes that you see in them, or some of the different decisions they probably make? I would just love to see what that looks like.
Yeah, sure. There's some really powerful planning that happens. I mean, super powerful and so strategic, and estate work and tax work and financial solutions and investment strategy and thesis work. I mean, it's pretty robust. I don't believe in overcomplicating something that doesn't need to be overcomplicated, right? And I think I'll tie in two questions together. The one question around okay, what are some core memory moments for your work? And then what do we do? It's the clients that come back and say, you've changed my life, right? This is the impact work. It's I can go to bed at night sleeping a little bit better. We do special considerations planning, and in consideration for my personal story with my brother, how important it is. My mother, her biggest concern wasn't, do I have enough resources to be able to retire? It's, God forbid something happens to me, I need to make sure my forever dependent child, who's now an adult, will be okay. It's the being able to live with more confidence, less worry. It is when the markets get turbulent, the coaching, the behavioral work around, I know this is uncomfortable. I want you to remember we planned for this. We expected it, and we stay course. That's how you can be objective, impartial, and not emotional, where you make decisions that unfortunately typically don't work out. I mean, statistically, I can give you so much data points to support that. That is where our work really changes people's lives.
Yes, I can see how important it is to have that steady hand. When you mentioned that sometimes the market can get turbulent, but the fact that you've already been speaking to somebody and then you've basically already factored that in a sense.
We've built a good plan. Is a plan that we believe in and the right plan. Let's execute. And that way, when we experience, I mean, there's going to be geopolitical events, politics, market environments, change in income, change in job, whatever it might be. We've built a plan that we believe in. We stay the course and we update that plan as things change to ensure that we remain on track.
Thank you. And while we're talking, I'm thinking of somebody who's probably looking to transition from full-time work to probably becoming an entrepreneur themselves. And I could see how maybe speaking with you even before they make the decision could help them plan for that, maybe even give them a sense of when they can actually do that, or just the in between, what needs to be done to fulfill that dream. Is that something you can probably touch on a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. I think that there are so many. I'll let you, Clarita, speak to the tax strategies around W-2 versus entrepreneurial solo, 1099, whatever that may look like. There is so much flexibility of finances and time when it comes to going entrepreneurial, but it certainly comes with it's not for the faint of heart, right? We can all probably agree to that. Benefits is a lot of people shifting from W-2 to, let's call it 1099 entrepreneurial work. I want control onus of my time, of my capital, my data. I also, but the drawback is I'm no longer going to have the benefits, right? That you get through your employer, the 401k, the 401k match benefits, etc. We can duplicate all of those benefits. So I tell entrepreneurs this, again, you need to be willing to build and to put in the work, but we can duplicate most benefits. I think it's important to have runway. So that way, if the type of business that you are building requires cash flow, plan for that, because what you don't want to get into a position of is not having enough and then feeling like you have to go back. And it's just an ineffective use of your time and your capital. So with good and prudent planning, you can really posture or position yourself well to take the quote unquote leap. I love entrepreneurial households. There's so much strategic work that we can do. And again, we can duplicate the benefits. When we have a blended W-2 entrepreneurial household, right? Just like such cool stuff that can happen on a tax return and otherwise. You can arguably save more, deduct more. I mean, there's so much power in that. But again, it's not for everybody. So I think it's good to have an honest conversation with someone that does entrepreneurial work. One, the tactical side, but also the honest conversations around what you should expect.
Yes, I agree. And I love that this podcast kind of gives people a little bit of insight into all what entrepreneurship looks like, and hearing the stories of people who've done it, people who serve entrepreneurs. So thanks for adding to the conversation.
Again, not for the faint of heart, but with good and prudent planning, you can really eradicate a lot of those stressors.
Yes. And knowing about that even before you get started is so key, because for me, I've found that I'm learning a lot as I go, and I'm realizing if I had just known this little piece of information before I started, things could have been a lot easier.
Hugely beneficial. I mean, but that's the power of proactive planning, right? We always hindsight's always 2020, but I mean, even as simple as you leave your W-2, you no longer have group disability. I mean, just like a very granular example is disability insurance is your ability to protect your income. It is critical inside of the success of a financial plan. If you don't have the level of net worth to sustain, if you no longer earn income, cover expenses and save. And so prior to leaving your W-2, you should probably get a level of disability personal, because you can't get personal disability unless you show 2 years of business cash flow tax returns, right? So just like little things that we do in proactive nature to make sure, again, you are set for success as you transition. And so for brand new entrepreneurs, it's like, okay, we can duplicate benefits. We can do life insurance and, qualified plan structures and profit sharing, all this cool stuff, right? Disability, you got to show 2 years of a tax return. And now the big risk to your financial plan. So we work off of a 3-legged stool pretty much. So the first leg is just the appropriate risk. What are the stressors that could up on your financial security, right? Is it liquidity, liability, insurances, runway. I mean, there's just so much, right? People, what is it? Oftentimes it's okay, God forbid I lost my income. Like, what is the plan? Oftentimes people don't have one. It's just hope. That's not a really good plan, right? And again, it's just, I unfortunately in my line of work see such goodness in this work. And then also the unfortunate circumstances of someone that wish they had deployed a strategy, but yet like hadn't done it yet or didn't know about it or just dragged their feet, whatever it is. That's really hard because it changes it can flip your life upside down.
Yes, for sure.
It's a good plan and can really set the stage for success.
Yes. And on that note, what does success mean to you?
Living life in alignment. I am very clear on what my value systems are. It's just a matter of if I was to go back in this last week and do an audit on my time, what percentage was allocated toward family, faith, community, work, self-care is in there somewhere, right? Like running or did I live in alignment? And so that's part of the work that I'm doing with my coach, right? Executive coach and leadership work is I find success, right? And even just more tactical, I think about my children and I want them to be better off than I am. And I'm a huge proponent for entrepreneurial work and building a business that my kids, if they decided they wanted to do this type of work and carry it on, they could get in. Success for me means truly having clear goals and value systems and ensuring that my time and my capital aligns with that.
Great. And I noticed you mentioned there again, coach, and earlier you mentioned mentors. So it really goes back to how having a team, we really can't do things alone. So having someone like you on the team, having a coach, various mentors based on what you're looking to do, and having a tax professional, an accountant, all of this is so important. It really helps a lot. And just before we end, I just wanted to see if there is just one thing you'd like to leave with those listening to you now. What would that be?
You're ready before you think you are. Due diligence is important, right? But the having a conversation with someone like me, financial planner, or taking the leap for entrepreneurship, you're often more ready than you think you are. But I cannot emphasize enough the value of a good plan in advance and getting clarity ahead of time to provide that level of confidence, right? I think, again, a lot of my work is set up special needs planning. I think people try and get tactical far too early before they just go back to, okay, what am I building? What am I looking to accomplish? What keeps me up at night, right? What are the stressors? And deploying and employing somebody like me or like you that this is what we do. We have an expertise and experience in this to really help support. It's far better use of your time and your capital so that you could be the hero of your own life. I mean, if you find the right professional and trusted team, executive coach, tax, estate, financial, right, mentor, it should be driving you toward becoming the hero of your own life. And I really mean it. And it sounds tacky, but like that is our firm's motto. Is this decision helping you become the hero of your own life, right? And if the answer is no, and you're confident with that, that's cool, right? I just think it's really important to have that objective and partial partnership.
Okay. Thank you so much. And what's the best way that our audience can reach you?
Oh, I appreciate the ask. My LinkedIn, Christine Limuti, Limuti at Clarita. I'll just assume that when you upload this, I would just have a direct link to my LinkedIn and then our website, the Atrium Financial Group. You can capture our website, my email. Glad to book time. They can certainly reach out to you. And if they're interested in having an introductory conversation, I always find joy in meeting other people and hearing their stories too. I'm a curator, a collector of stories, and I find myself, I'm very fortunate to have that.
Okay, thank you so much. And yes, I will definitely add that to the show notes. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us and for sharing so much valuable information with us today. Have a good day.
You too.
A quick note before we wrap up. The insights and experiences shared by our guests are their own. We love creating space for real conversations about business and growth, and everyone's journey is unique. Therefore, this podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. It is not meant to replace legal, financial, or other professional advice. So, we encourage you to Take what's useful, do your own due diligence, and build what works best for you.
Thanks for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. We hope today's conversation gave you the insights and inspiration you need to move forward on your own path. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. Do you have feedback? We'd love to hear from you at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com. Join us again next week for a new episode.